What is good, Regis recipients? How are y'all doing today? Let me know in the comment section. I want to thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Regis Reflections. Y'all already know each and every episode we have a different athlete on this podcast. And on this episode, we got my dog Josh. Say what's up to the people, Josh.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on, JD.
Thank you,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you, thank you. How is your mental health doing today on a scale of 1 to 10?
Mm. Today's pretty awesome. Had some good conversations. I'd say it's at a 9.
9? Okay,
Could
okay,
always
that's
be
good.
better though.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, good to hear. That's good to hear. So, Regis recipients, Josh here is a part of Notre Dame's cross country team. Now, Josh, is there a certain position or certain events that you do on this cross country team?
Yeah, cross country is just it's a one event sport, I guess. So it's just the 8K and 10K depending on where you are in the season. And then for track, I do the 5K and 10K, and that's just obviously on the track. So all the distance stuff, I'm the event no one wants to do.
Distance. So, is distance the ones that run the most? Would you say is that the ones who run the most?
Oh yeah, our team of like probably 15 to 20 guys who do distance, they run about anywhere from 60 to like 90 miles a week, depending who you are.
Wow, 60. Oh my God. Wait, so is the season for cross country, is that fall or spring?
Yeah, that's fall. Training typically starts in summer, and then the national meet is mid-November, right before Thanksgiving.
Running. That's actually good. Running right before Thanksgiving before you do all that eating.
Yeah,
Ah,
exactly.
so Josh, where are you originally from?
I'm from Illinois, the suburbs outside Chicago, Mount Prospect.
Hmm.
And I was actually born in Washington, but don't really have many memories there because we moved to Illinois soon after. But yeah, that's where I grew up in Illinois pretty much. And so I've only known the Midwest now that I go to school here in Notre Dame.
That's fair. That's fair. So would you say that cross country or running is a very popular activity to do out there in Illinois or in your area?
Yeah, Illinois is probably produces a lot of runners. Same with Wisconsin too, and Michigan. But Illinois, this is a boring fact, but we're the only ones that run the 3 mile instead of the 5K, the extra point one something of a 5K. Every other state does 5K. So but it's a big deal in Illinois, the distance running.
I never knew that. I thought Illinois was more of like a basketball, even football, but I'm running.
Oh, definitely that too. Football is definitely the more popular sport, but there's a lot of runners out there.
A lot of running there. So whom or what kind of got you into the sport of really just running? And what age did you start?
And the origin story is in elementary school in gym class, everyone started out with a 3 minute run, and I was always kind of the try hard that was going too hard on that run and won every time. And then I started cross country in middle school. That was one of my first sports because that was in the fall, kind of the first team sport you could do.
Mhm.
And it pretty much went off from there. I wasn't the best, but I was close to it, I think, in middle school in terms just on my team, not beyond that, but good enough to keep me coming back and like enjoying it. Just had that competitive nature in me.
Mhm.
And so whatever I was good at, I just kept doing.
Hey, I respect that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it ain't broke,
Yeah.
don't fix it. So did you do cross? You did cross country in high school?
Yep.
Mm.
Stuck with it through high school. I played sports up to high school, and then I stopped with basketball and baseball my freshman year of high school because I was a little my cross country coach thought I was too good to have these distractions, and I disagreed at the time, but I'd say it paid off because it got me here.
That's true. That's true. You're here at Notre Dame. So in high school, could you just talk a little bit about just that cross country aspect of from your experience in high school, how that was, and just the overall experience?
Yeah, it was interesting. So I started out and we had a coaching change right away, which was kind of like the first kind of big thing that happened to me. Like I was probably on the top 5 of the team my freshman year for cross country, but the coaching change is kind of what made my experience that year. And I was just an aloof, like did whatever coach said kind of athlete. And so it didn't really make much of a difference for me, but it did a lot of other people. So I kind of learned to grapple with that teammate wise. And then from sophomore to senior year, I just kind of steadily got better, battled a few just kind of nagging injuries, nothing major, but year by year just kind of got to bigger stages. And by my senior year, I was at a national championship and I won the cross country race.
Okay.
And Notre Dame started to recruit me and running started to take me places. So it was luckily, gratefully, it was a really good high school kind of journey, freshman to senior year for me, running wise.
That's good. That's good. That's good. So, what age or grade did you kind of realize, say, like, oh, I'm really good at this and I want to take it to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of made that commitment freshman year when I stopped playing other sports.
Mm,
But I think taking it to the next level is when I kind of like went for those bigger stages my junior year. You just go through like you have your state meet, then there's like a regional meet, geographically like for the Midwest, and then that qualifies you for nationals. And I got through each of those and got to the big meets, and that's kind of where the drive came from, just to get to those big stages, I guess, early in my career.
interesting. Interesting. So, you know that, you know how high school sports, you normally have basketball, football. Was cross country, was that part of your sports curriculum at your school, or did you do that outside of school as a club?
Yeah, that was a part of our school. I think cross country is probably a sport that most people do through their high school,
Mhm.
whereas some I know our basketball team is also pretty based on our high school, but cross country is definitely not a sport where it's popular enough to seek that kind of like outside like AAU
Mhm.
type environment. But it exists, but I just went through my high school.
Hey, okay, keep it simple. Keep it simple. I respect it. So
Yeah.
you said that when Notre Dame was kind of recruiting you and other schools as well. So what kind of drove you or motivated you to really end up coming to University of Notre Dame to continue your cross country career?
Yeah, I actually didn't really know much about Notre Dame until I was being recruited here. Definitely heard the name, but didn't really know much behind the story of what made Notre Dame so great. So I just kind of latched on to the name with a little bit of blind faith when it came to keep pursuing Notre Dame, I guess, as a school I could run at. And then I looked at a couple other schools that had really good business programs because
Mhm.
that's kind of what I thought I wanted to go into, and visited a few other schools, including Notre Dame. And what what it came down to for me was just the team and how quickly I thought I could adapt, make an impact, and kind of just who were the teammates that I was going to be with for the next 4 years, like or next 2, 3, 4 years. And Notre Dame was kind of that team that just had it all in terms of we had future Olympians on the team when I was being recruited, and I could kind of see that. I could see that in the trajectory the team was already on. We had future All-Americans. Like it was just probably a top 10 team in the country, and the people were also great. So it's like when you have those two things, it's hard to say no to that. So that's kind of how I ended up here.
Oh, wow, wow. So, how was the transition from high school being in Illinois doing cross country to now, you're really basically the state over in South Bend, Indiana, at Notre
Yeah.
Dame on the collegiate level? How was that transition from high school cross country to now the D1 collegiate level?
Just from the sport perspective, it honestly wasn't too hard. My training was in high school was pretty similar to the training I do in college now. Just colleges kind of do everything 1.5 times more, just a little bit more essentially. And there's just a little more dedication, I guess, in terms of how you structure your lifestyle. It was just really for me, it was the academics was hard, the socializing was a little hard because you're more dialed into your sport and that needs more attention. But as the years went on, I kind of figured it out, used my teammates as resources as much as I could to grow in whatever I needed help in. But honestly, the transition kind of just it was somewhat smooth over my 4 years, and I really do attribute that to the culture that the team has here and the school as well.
That's good. That's good. So you talked about the transition with this the social and the academics standpoint. Can you just touch a little bit on just how that transition was difficult for you and what I know you mentioned your teammates, but if you could expound that upon
Yeah,
anything else that really kind of helped you to really have that transition be even better.
yeah, like I mentioned earlier too, I was looking at business school side. I'm a business analytics major. That's what I'll graduate with, and part of the transition academically was just figuring out what I wanted to do. Because in high school, I didn't. graduate with like a 4.0 or anything spectacular. I was a pretty average student.
Mm,
But kind of once I got on campus, I realized, hey, if I do well in academics, like that'll set me up for the next 40 years of my life, essentially, or at least the next 5 to 10 in terms of like a starting career. So I took it a lot more serious, which of course made it a lot harder. And that was something I hadn't like committed to before. So like that commitment to doing well in school, at a higher level at this kind of place was it was a challenge I took on that I didn't know was going to be as hard as it was. But I had teammates help me out. Like I said, that's pretty much the team is kind of what I go to for everything.
mm,
And socially, I it's hard to, at least on the cross country team, like we see each other for 2 to 3 hours a day, so that just becomes your group. And for me, it was hard to kind of like have a core group outside of the team that wasn't like say in my dorm or someone I made friends with in class. Like it's hard to find those connections when your day to day is very, very similar and there's not much time to kind of go out, have fun like on a consistent basis. So the social aspect was it was hard in that regard because like there's a lot of stuff that I wanted, I guess, that I couldn't do, or like I kind of forced myself to be a little disciplined. Um, but of course, those are my choices, and I knew like they would pay off in the future, and they have, and I'm grateful for those decisions I made. But socially, it was kind of like the team is my friends, and that's why I chose to come here. So that's kind of been that journey socially has it's paid off, but it's not like the experience most people kind of foresee themselves having.
mm, mm. Okay, interesting. So when you said that when you having the academic and the social kind of struggles in a sense, you would have talk to your teammates. Did you have the courage to kind of go and talk to your teammates, or did the older teammates kind of come to you and ask you, is everything okay in a sense?
Yeah, it was a bit of both. Like I came in during COVID. Like, what year are you, JD?
I'm a sophomore. I just finished sophomore year, so junior
Just
now.
finished sophomore year.
Yeah.
Okay, so I came in my freshman year was that first COVID year, 2021,
Mm,
2020 to 21.
mm,
And we had a lot of upperclassmen kind of step up and hang out in the locker room with the freshmen like after practice and they recognized that it was an abnormal year and that we are going to have a really unique experience, probably not for the better. And the fact that they kind of stayed back and held our hand that first like COVID semester was really beneficial. But as the years go on, I think I've done a good job of even reaching out to alumni now, just like, hey, what should I do for like my senior year, spring semester for classes? Like, what do you suggest, kind of thing? Or I've talked to a few guys like career wise, like, hey, where should I start my like research if I want to get into this, or like how should I prepare for an interview type thing? Like
mm.
all things that you could go to like maybe the university career services for, but like I think your team is like they've been through it. They know the kind of commitments you have and how to kind of like guide you specifically to like be successful in that. So bit of both. Like of course, like I said earlier, like the team culture here just it it creates like people like that will give advice, share advice, and also have the courage to ask for it. So
Hmm. That's good. That's good. You kind of have to speak, kind of get out. Would you, when you had to speak out, did you kind of had to get out your comfort zone, or were you kind of like, oh, I'm struggling, so let me go ahead and immediately talk to them? What was kind of your standpoint?
yeah, I was definitely coming into college, I was definitely a shy guy.
Mm,
Like that's kind of why I latched onto the team as my friends so much as I did the first 2 years. And COVID kind of played a role in that because we had masks on 24/7 that first year. But um, yeah, I'd say when it came to speaking up, I think it was hard at first, but I eventually was able to kind of like realize the impact that people could have on my life, and with a few words of encouragement from like my parents or like an advisor or a coach, I think that kind of just gave me the nudge I needed to finally get out of my comfort zone and just say like, hey, I'm struggling or hey, I need help. I think everyone kind of goes through that at some point
yeah,
in their lives and going from like maybe not shy guy, but just like reserved, like I can do everything by myself to like, hey, there's people out there who can help you and make things so much easier.
that's true. That's true. So you mentioned earlier that you were a business analytics major, University of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So that's in Mendoza, correct?
Yeah.
So Mendoza, we kind of already know this thing is already it's not easy, but more a tough major. You're already in the tough field and one of the best business schools in the world. But on top of that, you're a collegiate D1 athlete for cross country. How did you and how do you balance both being an athlete as well as your major as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you choose, but those are both things I chose, and I think it's like when you choose to do something, you commit to it. And if I were to choose something I didn't like if I chose to like not do the running team and just work out, but I hate lifting weights. Not
Mm,
that I do, but like say that's if I just force myself to do that for 2 to 3 hours a day, it's just gonna be miserable. And same thing with business school. Like if I chose a major that maybe I knew was lucrative, but I just hated studying it, that would be miserable as well. But like I think both of these things are things I like to do. So that makes it a whole lot easier just to start and like keep doing it. But balancing, it's just having the priorities straight. Like I know 6 days a week, I'm gonna have to be pretty dialed in terms of like going to practice, competing on certain weekends, and then also doing school on top of that. So it's really just what are the other like 4 to 8 hours a day where I have free time to
mm,
either like study, socialize, go out to eat. Like how do I spend those like kind of like remaining hours in the day and allocate time wisely to like either recover or grow in relationship with other people kind of thing. So it's kind of just closing that circle or like the buckets you have, like to being like a minimum of like, hey, I only have 3 buckets of like academics, my sport, and my social life. Um, I can only pour so much water into each of them or else they'll overflow kind of thing.
right. It's a good mentality.
So yeah, it's just what's that saying? A little bit of moderation for everything. It'll be all right. So
There we
I
are.
kind of take that approach to it all.
Hey, that's a good approach. I like that mentality. I'm gonna apply that next year. I'm gonna try that. But
Sweet.
with being a collegiate athlete as well, you're prone to traveling, and you said and you mentioned earlier you do have meets and events on the weekend, and sometimes you go to other schools, and sometimes even other cities. Now, non-athletes, when they hear this, they may think, "Oh, it's all fun. You get to go to this college, this city. We're outside in the city. Let's do this and that." But a lot of people don't know that it's a business trip. So, could you just touch a little bit
hmm
on the traveling aspect from your experience with cross country here at Notre Dame?
Yeah, I mean the cool thing about being a distance runner is like you run in 1 or 2 events for a track meet, but like that track meet is maybe it's usually Thursday through Saturday, but my race is Saturday night. So we miss class pretty much Wednesday through Friday, and I just got to be stuck in a hotel room doing homework maybe that's due that weekend before my race. So it's a little bit of that commitment is making sure you got your stuff done on time and cooperating with maybe group projects, say like scheduling Zoom meetings, things like that. So it's always like you got to get your stuff done before the race is kind of how I do it. I hate doing things afterwards, like on the way back to school, like traveling back is always a nightmare because you're fried physically and no way you're there mentally. So
That's
I try
funny.
to get things done before, which kind of could take away from your performance if you're too locked into school and not thinking about like how am I gonna mentally prepare myself for a race. So it's a bit of balance in terms of kind of preparing for a race while also making sure you got schoolwork done so that you don't flunk out kind of thing. It's just another fill in your bucket type scenario. Like
Okay. You know.
you might have to get an A- or a B- on this assignment if you want to have an A+ day in the race tomorrow kind of thing. So
That's a good mentality, right? I'm taking notes as we speaking. That's great. That's great. So throughout your 4 years here at the University of Notre Dame, has there ever been just a certain time, practice, or meet where it just wasn't you mentally? You're kind of going through it. You had an off day basically. And if so, how did you see the light and get through that?
yeah, I mean I've had a lot of on and off injuries these last 2 years, so my junior and senior year, which
Mm,
has been tough. Most recently, we had our ACC championship week, which was last week, the week of finals.
Mm,
So I was supposed to race Saturday night. We leave for the race on Monday because people start competing Wednesday morning. And I just have this like weird pain flare up in my Achilles on the back of your heel there, and I'm like, ah shit, like I can't. There's no way I can race like this. So that was just a moment of like wrong place, wrong time. Can't believe this is happening. Like I was feeling fit, ready for the ACC championships my senior year. Um, kind of the stars were aligning, and this like little injury popped up, and it wasn't anything major, but like in terms of timeline, like it healed pretty quickly, but it wasn't gonna heal fast enough for me to race, and I was at this meet limping around the whole time, just watching people compete, which was really hard to do, and like trying to stay positive for my teammates while I'm trying to like nurse this thing and like mentally prepare if it suddenly like heals up. So that was like that was just a hard 4 to 5 days of like what ifs in my head,
mm,
thinking like, hey, what if I don't get a race? What if I do get to race? Like how am I gonna like not burn myself out mentally, but also like prepare myself physically throughout the week? And I ended up not racing because it just didn't heal in time. And you gotta look at it in two different perspectives. Like it sucks that I didn't get to race. Like I'm allowed to be upset about it, but it wasn't the end of the world. This race wasn't like my end all be all goal of the season. My goal is like to get into nationals and like get an all American medal. So
mm.
my goal was really, I really had to like turn my head at the end of the weekend and just focus on like getting ready for the next phase of training, which is these next 2 weeks of qualifying for nationals. And I'm healthy now, but at the time, this past week, it just like flared up at the wrong time and just there's so many what ifs in your head, I guess, it was the hard part for me. And now I just got to focus on my end goal is still in sight for the end of the year, and I think I'll be healthy enough to do it. So kind of just got to leave it in the past.
That's true. Leave it in the past. It's good. So with athletes, the athletes that are currently listening or watching this, what will be some quick advice that you would give them when dealing with
Uh-huh.
injury? Because a lot of people, when they have injuries, they overthink a lot. They kind of just kind of put their head down. And it's okay to kind of have that grief moment, but don't let it truly define you. So what would be some quick advice you would give them when dealing with an injury?
Yeah, I definitely say like give yourself time and space to kind of process it, be mad, be angry. Like if you gotta cry, you gotta cry. Like there's situations where that happens, and I've been there, cried many times before because of injury, and then I think 2 hours later, like that was definitely not my best moment, but like it had to happen because now I kind of came out the other side with a little more perspective. But then I think don't dwell on it is like an easy thing to suggest. And I feel like I do a good job of that, but you always need to be reminded, kind of like don't dwell on it. Like what's the next goal? There's always like a next goal, no matter what. Even if it's the next season, 6 months from now, like focus on that instead of focusing on the past. I think it's easy to kick the can down the road rather than focusing on like what's ahead in the future.
Hmm,
But yeah, but beyond that, like what you can do personally, I think just surround yourself with good people, have yourself a good circle. Like I chose a school that had a really good team that I thought had that circle, and um, you can only help that circle grow over time if you really commit to it. And that's something I think I've done over these past 4 years is to continue to kind of create that environment for everyone to feel safe when times get hard academically, athletically, personally. So surround yourself with the right people.
that's true. That's true. You have to have good energy around you. You can't have bad energy at all.
Yeah.
So for you personally, Josh, what is your end goal with cross country? Do you want to take it to the next level and go to the Olympics? Like you said, you had some of your teammates, or do you want to kind of go
Uh-huh.
within your major with business analytics and kind of go that route into the business world?
Yeah, dude, I want to do both. I think like I have the talent and I have the hard work to kind of reach that professional level. Running is obviously not a glamorous sport in terms of like contracts and media attention, but it still is an awesome little niche that people are interested in, and I love the sport, track and field opportunities it brings. So I'd love to sign a contract for however many years and run professionally, but that's gonna take. I have a grad season this upcoming year, and I hope to kind of just get some fast times on the board to make that a reality. But I know that won't last forever, and I came here because Notre Dame's a good school. Hopefully, that degree will pay off at some point in time, and I can use it to support the rest of my life because
Mm.
running career only lasts about 2 to 5 to 10 years if you're super lucky. So that's kind of my outlook.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Interesting. So, one final question, Josh, before we wrap things up. What
Yeah.
advice would you give to our listeners and viewers out there on their mental health journey?
Yeah, I mean, the thing I tell everyone, like I just said, is surround yourself with the right people and continue to like build on that circle because when times get hard, there's those 2 to 3 people that you really fall back on if it's not your parents or your family, because not everyone has that. So build your circle up, um, and just kind of embrace the challenges that come at you and kind of put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Otherwise, you won't fail. You'll just be comfortable coasting through life and look back and say, "Hey, I wish in high school, I wish I kind of committed more to that sport. I feel like I could have gone further." So challenge yourself and have that circle to rely on when things don't go to plan.
Amen. Amen. Well, Regis recipients, you heard it from my dog Josh right here. Josh, thank you again for taking time out of your day and joining us on this episode of Regis Reflections. We really appreciate your insight and your experience in really helping out the mental health side. And any
Of
last
course, man.
words?
Love what you're doing, JD. I think this is awesome. I'm gonna have to give a few more episodes a listen.
Yes,
I think
sir.
this is
Yes, sir.
cool.
Thank you. Thank you. We're getting the message out there. We're getting the message out there that mental health is important and that it's okay if you're not okay. It's your boy JD, and I'm out.